Friday night. String lights. Perfume. Laughter. You ever get the sensation you're the only person in a room who knows the joke is about you? Not because they're subtle, no. It's because they've stopped pretending you matter. That's what this was. A rooftop bar with $70 cocktails and a view that made Dana feel young again. She was leaning into the corner of the booth like it was a talk show couch, lip gloss perfect, legs crossed toward her friend Stacy, and her voice slicing the air like it paid rent to be there. She swirled her drink and laughed, too loud. "You're lucky I let you pay my bills while my ex makes me feel alive," she said. Not whispered, not under breath, just loud enough to make sure I heard it, and maybe the waiter too. Stacy and Melissa, both of them empty nest Pilates types with tan lines from men they don't post, burst out laughing like it was peak stand-up. I just sat there, 2 fingers on my glass, nodding to no one. That line wasn't a joke. Not really. It was a soft confession wrapped in mockery, the kind that doesn't sting, it numbs, like your nerves gave up from repetition. Then came the check. Waiter placed it in front of me, like always. But this time, for a moment too long, his hand hovered as he noticed the top of the receipt, my company's logo, my initials, and the name of the restaurant, the one Dana insisted we try because Stacy said it's impossible to get a reservation. Stacy leaned forward. "Wait. That's your company?" I smiled, just enough to be polite. "Yes, this is one of mine." The laughter stopped, not abruptly, but it dipped, like someone pulled the record needle just enough to scratch it. Dana blinked twice and then smiled too, that slow, brittle kind she uses when she's been caught off guard but still thinks she can spin the moment. She reached for her purse like she might offer to split the bill for the first time in 6 years. I waved it off, not out of chivalry. Out of control. "Please," I said, "you're the guest of honor." It was subtle, but Melissa clocked it. Her eyes flicked between us, then back to her wine. Stacy stayed quiet for the rest of the meal, which was new for her. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. The weight of silence was doing my work. Look, more than 90% of the people reading or listening to stories like this never subscribe, and honestly, if you're one of them, I get it. But if you want us to keep doing this, telling stories that cut past the sugarcoating, tap that subscribe button. It helps us more than you think. On the ride home, Dana stared out the window like the city might give her an answer. She didn't say much until we pulled into the garage. "You should have told me it was your place," she muttered, pulling her heels off without looking at me. "Would it have mattered?" I asked, shutting off the engine. "I wouldn't have made that joke." "You still made it," I said. That was all. Inside, she disappeared into the bedroom, flicked on the diffuser, and changed into one of those oversized shirts she wears when she wants to seem low maintenance. I watched her scroll on her phone, fingertips dancing, tapping, deleting, retyping. She thought I wasn't looking. But we have this mirror above the dresser, one of those gaudy, gold-framed things she swore tied the room together. In it, I saw the glow of her phone screen, the way she smiled, not at me, at him. She laughed again. Softly, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in over a year. I didn't say a word, just stepped into the bathroom and shut the door. While she showered the next morning, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I didn't snoop, I didn't hack, I just looked. Notifications show previews, especially when you're not careful. "You looked unbelievable last night. Still thinking about Cabo or..." I forwarded it to myself. No text added, no confrontation, just cataloging. See, Dana always thought of me as the safe one, the provider, the background to her highlight reel, but she forgot something critical. I own the background. Dana didn't speak for the first 5 minutes of the drive. She just sat there, arms crossed, eyes out the window, like we'd just left a funeral and she wasn't sure whose it was. Finally, in that soft, tight tone she uses when she wants to blame me for being right, she said, "You should have told me." I didn't look away from the road. Would it have mattered? She scoffed lightly. "I wouldn't have made that joke." "But you meant it." She hesitated. "It was girl talk. We were just messing around." I nodded. One slow, deliberate nod. That kind of nod that says, "You've already lost the argument, but I'll let you pretend you haven't yet." She started twisting the ring on her finger, something she only does when she's nervous or when she's calculating how to spin her way out of something. I let the silence do its thing. There's an art to it. Silence is honest. Words lie. Silence lets the truth show up late to the party, but still steal the spotlight. When we got home, she poured herself a glass of wine before even taking off her coat. Poured me one too, but didn't hand it over. Just left it on the counter, like a peace offering from a nation already occupied. I let her talk about how Stacy doesn't know when to shut up, and how Melissa was drunker than she let on, all soft distractions. Then she said, "You didn't seem that upset." "I wasn't," I said. That was the closest I came to a confession that night. Because I wasn't upset. I'd already slipped past upset weeks ago. You only get upset when you still believe the other person can disappoint you. I had transitioned into something else entirely. Calm, calculated, and watching everything from just far enough away that it didn't feel like it was mine anymore. Later, in bed, she curled up under the blanket, her phone clutched like a teenage diary. The screen lit her face in soft pulses, text bubbles floating up, her fingers tapping away in rhythms I used to know. She smiled, bit her lip, laughed once, not loud. The kind of laugh she used to give me during road trips when I'd say something dumb just to make her lean her head against the window and say, "You're ridiculous." She hadn't called me ridiculous in years. The mirror above the dresser gave me a perfect angle. I watched it all in silence, the glow, the grin, the thumb hovering over send, then backspacing. That's when you know it's emotional, when they rewrite it. When she finally rolled over, I stayed awake a little longer. Not out of heartache, not even suspicion, but strategy. The difference between victims and survivors is preparation. In the morning, she moved through the routine like nothing had shifted. Kisses on the cheek, Bluetooth speaker playing something low and sultry while she showered. She sang along even, like she was starring in her own morning montage. Meanwhile, her phone lit up again. Same message preview format. "You looked unbelievable last night, still thinking about Cabo." R. No hearts, no emojis, just clean coded lust. I didn't hesitate, forwarded it to myself. Didn't open the thread, didn't need to. That would have been emotional. And emotion was no longer in the driver's seat. See, there's a kind of betrayal that isn't loud. It doesn't involve screaming or slamming doors or running down the street in the rain. It's quiet. It's the slow tightening of a thread that's been fraying for months. And when it snaps, there's no sound, just space. By lunchtime, she had posted a boomerang of her iced coffee on Instagram. Caption, "Fueling up girl boss." The man texting her? No sign of him in her curated universe. I watched the likes roll in. A comment from her cousin, a fire emoji from some wellness coach she met at a conference. All cheering for someone they didn't know had just dropped a grenade into the house and was sipping wine over the crater. I wasn't about to confront her. Not yet. I wanted more. Patterns, timelines, recurring contacts, GPS tags, receipts. I started small. I checked the shared calendar she always forgot I had access to. Monthly spa day? Canceled. Replaced with a vague meeting downtown. I checked our shared credit card. She bought lingerie from a site I'd never seen her wear anything from. Not for me then, but for someone. Someone who apparently had a thing for red lace and hotel privacy, judging by the receipt from the Ridgemont, an upscale spot with valet and soundproofed headboards. I screenshotted everything, filed it neatly. She would never find the folder. It wasn't even on my computer. It lived in the cloud, under a name that meant nothing to her. Legacy expenses. You might think I felt humiliated. I didn't. I felt way focused. I didn't cry, didn't break down. I put on a suit, went to a meeting, shook hands with 2 new investors, and pitched a third location for the restaurant line she didn't even know I was expanding. Because while she was investing in attention, I was investing in exits. One of us was building a future. The other was busy starring in her own ending. Dana has a habit of leaving things half-finished. A browser tab with lingerie still in the cart. A receipt from a boutique folded under the passenger seat. A digital calendar with vague appointments titled Catch Up or Reset. She thinks being vague makes her mysterious. What it really does is make her predictable. I started cataloging. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would set off alarms. Just enough. A quiet operation, photos of receipts, PDF exports of card statements, screen-recorded scrolls through her shared calendar that she never really unshared. I wasn't looking for drama, I was mapping a pattern. What days she lied. How often she worked late without moving a single deliverable forward. Where she spent our money while playing broke. She was still swiping my card, still using the auto-filled payment details I gave her when she said, I just want to feel supported, still calling me babe in public, still leaning in at dinners like we were solid. But now, I wasn't playing the husband. I was playing the analyst. On Thursday, she booked a massage at a spa that doesn't exist on Google Maps. I checked the address. It was a private condo unit in a tower downtown. Clever, luxurious, expensive, and billed under Wellness Recovery Services. Her alibi was too clean. A pro's touch. I saved the receipt and ran a reverse address lookup. Unit 1904, registered to a holding company, one I'd seen before on Ryan's LinkedIn before he deleted it. That night, I made steaks for dinner, medium rare, just how she hates them. I watched her slice one in silence and fake a smile. I poured wine and asked, what's Ryan up to these days? She didn't flinch. Still trying to fix his life, same as always. I nodded, sipping. Good thing someone's funding yours. She laughed, thought it was a joke. Didn't notice the shift in my eyes. Didn't realize I wasn't asking. I was confirming. Because here's the thing about people like Dana. They underestimate quiet. They think it means weakness. But quiet is a knife. Silent, sharp, and it doesn't swing. It slips between the ribs. She left her laptop open in the kitchen that weekend. I clicked her Chrome history. She was logged into her secondary email, one she never told me about, but used often enough that autofill knew it by heart. I didn't go through every message. I didn't need to. I saw what I came for. Confirmation email from a private resort. 2 guests. Spa suite. Welcome drinks. Romantic touches requested. She booked it on my card. I moved the charge to a dummy account and reissued the card the same day. Left the old one active. Let her think everything still worked. She sent me a selfie the next day from the gym, cropped just right, sports bra, filtered sweat, caption, beast mode. I smiled. The gym had been closed for deep cleaning that day. I checked her location history, 38 minutes at B Fit and Bear, but her car never moved from the condo tower. She'd taken an Uber there and back. She was getting sloppy, or maybe she thought I was still too numb to notice. That's the part that always amazes me. How people who lie for a living forget that others can learn their language. Friday came. She texted, let's do date night? Just us. No work. Sure, I said. She picked a little tapas place she used to call Basic, but now raved about because Stacy said it was cute. She wore that same red dress from Cabo, the one she claimed made her feel like herself again. She wasn't wrong. It did, just not with me. Halfway through the grilled octopus, she asked about my week. I said I was working on some restructuring. She nodded absently. Then I leaned in, casual as ever. Hey, you remember when Ryan used to DJ in college? She blinked, caught off guard. Yeah? You think he's still chasing that dream? Or did he find a sponsor for something more air-conditioned? She laughed again, but slower. Still trying to figure himself out, I think. I gave a soft nod. Everyone needs a patron saint. She smiled at her drink. Didn't realize I had just confirmed it, again. Ryan wasn't broke. He just outsourced his lifestyle. She's still playing the wife. Still curling against me in bed, still saying love you out of reflex. But her expressions don't match the tone anymore. And I've stopped saying it back. Because every calendar entry, every boutique charge, every wellness retreat, and half-told lie, every single one is being stitched into a story I'm writing without her permission. And I don't need to rush it. I've got time. I've got time. There's a peculiar stillness that happens before you press the first domino. Not hesitation, just calculation. I stared at the contact list on my phone, thumb hovering over a name I hadn't dialed since the bachelor party circuit. Trevor Marks. He and Ryan used to work together at some fintech startup before it imploded in spectacular beer-on-the-keyboard fashion. I never liked the guy. Trevor, that is. He always had the energy of someone who thought cigars made him look powerful and not desperate, but he had something I needed. Access. I hit call. Trevor speaking, came the voice, smooth and smug as ever. Still keeping tabs on Ryan? I asked. There was a pause, then a chuckle. Oh man, blast from the past. Who's this? Dana's husband. Another pause. Longer. Then the chuckle turned darker. Shit. Yeah. Trevor exhaled like he was lighting a cigarette. You're not calling for a beer, are you? Nope. He didn't ask questions. Just went right into it, like he'd been waiting for someone to give him permission. He's renting a penthouse now, Midtown, one of those glass and concrete bachelor fish bowls, no job that I know of, but he's definitely not living like someone looking for one. I lean back in my chair. That's odd. Dana told me he was flat broke. Trevor barked a laugh. Your wife's been over there, man. She's not visiting a guy scraping rent. That sentence didn't sting. It clarified. She drives the Benz, right? Trevor added. Saw it in the valet lot twice. Same plates. I didn't say another word, just hung up after a quiet thanks. Trevor didn't ask why I called. He knew. Back in my office, I logged into the banking suite, corporate and personal. I started with the cards, moved the balance from our joint account into a personal reserve, shut down auto pays, and reissued replacements. Quietly, cleanly. Dana would still see her balance for another 48 hours before the dust settled. Next, beneficiaries. My lawyer, Beth, had already prepared contingency drafts. All I had to do was flip the switch. She once told me, no one sees it coming when you smile during the kill shot. I didn't smile. Not yet. But the expression was forming in the bones behind my eyes. I sat with the laptop on the counter that night as Dana walked past in yoga pants and a top that still had a price tag hidden behind her hair. She kissed my cheek. Want me to grab Thai for dinner? I'll order on your card. I looked up. Actually, I canceled that one. Fraud alert. Use yours? Her eyes flickered. Just a beat too long. Then she smiled. Oh, yeah, of course. She turned and walked away, fingers already tapping her phone like she was texting Ryan for a sympathy takeout fund. I logged her out of our financial planner's portal, then deleted the app from the shared iPad. Took 10 minutes. Tops. She wouldn't notice until she needed something. And by then, I'd be further down the track. Later that night, while she showered, I checked the Uber history she forgot to unlink. Multiple drop-offs near the same Midtown high-rise Trevor mentioned. A name I recognized in the business profile. R. Ellison. Not a coworker, not a family friend, just sure. That was all he ever needed to be. The trips were often on weekdays, late afternoon, perfect alibi territory, just enough time to run errands or hit a late meeting. One even noted a pickup from the dry cleaner. I screenshot everything, uploaded it to the folder labeled Legacy Expenses. Same one where I stored receipts, lingerie invoices, and the Airbnb she booked for a solo recharge weekend that also listed 2 guests. I opened a bottle of scotch, the expensive one, the one she said we should save for something special. I figured this qualified. While she slept beside me, curled into the sheets like the night didn't hold 1,000 volts of silence, I drafted a message to Beth. Subject, next steps. Body, timeline looks ready, let's move on the plan. Quietly, still observing. Attachment, a list of account names with red strike-throughs. Dana's access marked revoked, effective immediately. I didn't hit send yet, just saved it to drafts, because the detonation wasn't ready. Not yet, but the fuse had been soaked in gasoline, and now all I had to do was wait for the match to light itself. Beth's office smells like dry paper and quiet vengeance. Not the theatrical kind, the corporate kind, the kind that wears heels you can't hear and smiles that don't wrinkle the eyes. She's the type who can ruin your life with a spreadsheet and never raise her voice. That's why I picked her. We sat across from each other at a conference table that probably cost more than my first car. She wore navy sharp-edged glasses and a watch that didn't tick, just glowed. She slid the folder across to me, already open to a page marked with red tabs. You're ahead of schedule, she said without looking up. Most men come in here when it's already burning. You're 5 steps ahead. I like fireproofing the house before the spark, I said. She gave a small professional smile and tapped the asset summary with her pen. No joint titles on any properties. She's not listed as a business partner. Even the cars are leased under the LLC, not your name. She insisted on the Benz, I said. Said it made her feel like a CEO's wife. Beth arched an eyebrow. Did she think she was? She liked the letters, not the labor. She flipped a few pages. She's still authorized on 2 cards, minor but notable. Not anymore, I said. Pulled them in my eye last night. Beth nodded. That'll help. I watched her mark up the margin with a red pen. There was something incredibly soothing about how calm she was, like I could hand her a war and she'd hand back a peace treaty with just the right amount of poison folded in. She looked up. What do you want out of this? Clean break? Asset protection. Public retribution? Clean, I said. No fireworks. No tabloids. Why? Because she thinks I won't leave unless she pushes me, I said. She thinks control equals security. I want her to feel how wrong she is quietly. Beth nodded again. Then you're going to need to time this. There's a window when she'll start realizing something's wrong, but not know where the leak is. I'm already laying the groundwork, I said. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Not in concern, just interest. How soon? Depends on how fast she panics. Beth closed the folder. All right, I'll draft the paperwork. We won't file. Not yet. Just be ready to move fast once the first crack shows. You'll only get one clean shot at this. I don't miss, I said. Beth laughed quietly and stood. Then we're good. Outside her office, the sun hit different, not brighter, just clearer, like the world had finally stopped fogging over my reality. I stood at the edge of the curb and looked at my reflection in the glass. Not the husband, not the fool, just a man with a plan. Dana was still playing the game, still posting boomerangs of her almond milk lattes, still smiling wide in selfies captioned, "Grind never stops," with strategically placed hair to hide the tired under her eyes, still tagging me in anniversary throwbacks like we were unshakable. The facade was flawless. Except I had the blueprint. She didn't know I'd already removed her emergency contact status from all my companies, or that I'd changed the healthcare account password. She had noticed that the joint brokerage account no longer listed her as a beneficiary. She wouldn't until the day it mattered, and that day was coming. Back home, she was lounging on the couch watching a crime drama, curled up with a throw blanket I bought her on a trip she said was more Pinterest than passion. She looked up, smiled lazily. Long meeting? Worth every second, I said, kissing her forehead. She didn't flinch, didn't sense the shift. I asked, you still planning that girls' trip next month? She perked up. Yeah, Melissa's booking the flights. Cabo again. I nodded. Cabo's always fun. She tilted her head, suspicious for a moment. You sure you're okay with me going? I think you should enjoy it, I said. She smiled like she'd won something. She hadn't. She was walking barefoot into a room that I had already locked from the outside. There's still one thing left to reveal, and it'll be mine, not hers, not Ryan's, mine. The invitation came as a text, no card, no calendar alert, just a casual, thinking we should do dinner Friday for our anniversary. That was the message, not a question, not an apology for forgetting the actual date last month, just a line tossed into the ether like a bone to a dog she assumes is still waiting to be fed. I stared at it for a while, not because I was touched, but because it meant something had shifted. She wanted a performance. A show, I replied. Sounds great. No emoji, no enthusiasm, just space for her to fill with assumptions. She booked the same rooftop bar, the one from a few weeks back, the one she discovered through Stacy's endless reels. She invited two couples, Stacy and her husband, now freshly suspicious of the dynamics, and another pair I barely knew, but who followed Dana like she was the center of gravity in their Instagram solar system. Dana spent the whole week leading up to it acting like a curated version of herself. Fresh blowout, new nails, laughed extra hard at nothing. She even made a point to ask if I wanted her to make a reservation at your place again, like she'd suddenly remembered where we were standing last time. I didn't bite, let her keep pretending. On the day of, she laid out two outfits on the bed, hers, not mine, and asked, which one feels more effortlessly stunning? I shrugged. You always look stunning. It wasn't a compliment. It was a line. She didn't notice. When it came time to leave, I walked out in a charcoal button-up and the same pair of dress shoes I wore to our rehearsal dinner years ago. She glanced at me and wrinkled her nose. You're not wearing that, are you? I am. She scoffed. Fine, just don't embarrass me. I smiled. Wouldn't dream of it. The restaurant hadn't changed. Same lights, same rooftop view, same overpriced cocktails and curated playlists designed to make people feel like they're having a life-changing night just by eating sea bass under Edison bulbs. But I had changed. She walked in first, arms draped in that red silk wrap she only wears when she wants to feel untouchable. I followed, just close enough to look like we were a unit. We were greeted by the hostess, my hostess, who offered a tight, professional smile and led us to the corner booth. Everyone was already seated when we arrived. Hugs, cheek kisses, exaggerated delight. Stacy's husband gave me a stiff nod. I returned it. He wasn't sure how much I knew. I wasn't sure how much he suspected. That tension, I liked it. Dinner was Dana in full performance mode, toasting to love, making little digs about surviving another year with this one, tossing compliments at the other couples like confetti at a divorcee brunch. "You're lucky," she said at one point, placing her hand on my arm. "Most men would have given up on me by now." I smiled. "I'm a man of patience." Stacy shifted uncomfortably. Her husband looked at his wine. By the third course, Dana was tipsy enough to lean into her performance fully. "I mean, sure, we have our bumps, but who doesn't? I always say marriage is like business, ups, downs, and you hope your partner's equity is worth it." She laughed at her own joke. I lifted my glass. "To equity, then." And then I signaled to the waiter. He nodded and walked off. Donna didn't notice. She was too busy fake laughing at something Melissa said about destination vow renewals. The waiter returned with a sleek black folder already closed. "Check?" Dana asked, surprised. "Didn't we—" "Already paid," the waiter said. "Compliments of the owner." He placed a printed receipt on the table, neatly folded, a logo on top, company name, property title, a single line below, "Owned and operated by," my name. I didn't say a word, but I did catch the moment Stacy's eyes scanned the page and widened, just a flash, and then flicked to Dana, then to me. Dana reached for the paper, smiling, but slower now. Her smile didn't land right. "You own this one too?" she said. I nodded. "Recently reacquired." She blinked. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought you'd prefer the surprise." The table went quiet for a moment. Not awkward, just adjusting, like they suddenly realized the script they were handed no longer applied. She covered it with a laugh. "You're full of surprises tonight." I raised my glass again. "You have no idea." She laughed along, but there was a hitch this time, like her vocal cords were trying to hold back a question she didn't know how to ask in front of witnesses. The rest of dinner passed like a slow unraveling. She kept glancing at me like she was trying to recalibrate her GPS and realized the map had changed. I smiled, chatted, said all the right things, because I wasn't there to make a scene. I was there to set the stage, let her perform, let them all cheer, but I was the one who wrote the script. And now we were finally heading into the third act. By the time the entrees hit the table, the charade had fully bloomed. Dana was glowing, not from joy, but from the kind of artificial confidence that comes from being half a bottle deep in center stage. She was magnetic in the way a sparkler is, bright, loud, burning fast, and destined to burn out before midnight. Fake smiles surrounded us like bad lighting. Everyone was trying to act natural, but you could feel it, the tension under the tablecloth. The way Stacy's husband wouldn't make direct eye contact with me, or how Melissa kept laughing a second too late, like her internal script was buffering. Dana, though, she was thriving, buzzing with that manic energy she used to get during Fashion Week previews. She was tossing stories like grenades, flirting with the waiter in that not quite innocent way she thinks men find charming, and making sure her laugh was always a beat louder than everyone else's. She leaned in toward Stacy at one point and said, "I swear marriage is just a game of who breaks character first." Then she looked at me and winked. I smiled. Then I must be winning. She didn't get it. None of them did. Yet it wasn't until the plates were cleared and the wine poured for one final round that she made her move. The kind of moment Dana lives for, when everyone's attention is already halfway on their phones, and she yanks it back with a clink of her glass. She stood. "To feeling alive," she said, swaying slightly, her glass raised high. "Some of us still do." Laughter. Melissa clapped, Stacy giggled, Dana beamed, and I stood too. I raised my glass. "To clarity," I said, and knowing when to stop pretending. There was a beat, the kind that stabs through the air and leaves behind a hush, a few polite chuckles, awkward glances. Melissa shifted in her seat like she wasn't sure if this was still the fun part or if we had entered a new genre entirely. Then I looked at Stacy, dead on. "By the way, this location? Mine too." The waiter, on cue, appeared beside me and set a sleek black folio on the table. This time he didn't hand it to me. He set it in front of Stacy. Clipped on top was a single-page printout, bold header, logo, company info, name, mine. Stacy reached out slowly, as if touching it might burn her. Her eyes scanned the header, then the signature at the bottom. Her jaw didn't drop, but her face changed, subtly, entirely. Dana leaned forward. What is it? Stacy didn't speak. She just turned the page toward Dana, one slow inch at a time, as if revealing a photo of something long buried. Dana's eyes locked on the logo first, then the name, then the date, indicating ownership going back months. You, she stammered, you own this one too? I nodded, calmly sipping my wine. Acquired it last quarter? Stacy's face when she realized that little tidbit? Worth every penny. Dana laughed, but not like before. It cracked at the edge. You never mentioned. Didn't seem important, I said. Melissa whispered to her husband. He didn't respond, just kept staring at the table like it owed him answers. Dana blinked like the room had gone blurry. So, you planned this? Would it matter? I said, echoing her words from the car a few weeks back. Her smile flickered, just a fraction, but enough. Enough for the entire table to see her balance shift. Enough to register that, for once, Dana wasn't the one holding the invisible strings. I stood slowly, nodding to the waiter again. He placed one more item on the table, a handwritten thank you note for the guests, tucked neatly beside the receipt, my name signed at the bottom. Compliments of the owner, he said with a small bow. Dana stared at it like it was written in another language. She tried to laugh. Okay. You made your point. I tilted my head. Which one? The table fell quiet again, and just like that, I watched it happen. Her grip slipped, her posture faltered, her voice softened, not out of shame, but uncertainty, because for the first time in years, Dana didn't know what I knew, and everyone was watching, not just me, not just Stacy, everyone. She drained the last of her wine, then sat down a little too hard, trying to act casual, trying to spin, but the momentum was already gone. The queen had missed a step, and the board was mine. The second we got home, the facade peeled off like sunburned skin. No more dinner party smile, no more performative laughter or fake affection. Just the cold, bare shape of Dana, stripped of her charm, simmering in confusion, anger, and a growing awareness that something was slipping from her hands. She waited until the door shut behind us before she turned around, arms crossed like she was preparing to win an argument she hadn't studied for. What was that tonight? She snapped. Why are you acting like this? I didn't answer right away. I walked into the kitchen, set my phone down on the counter, and poured a glass of water. Slowly, let the silence stretch. She followed. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I took a sip, still quiet. I don't know what game you're playing, but it's not funny, she hissed. Then I unlocked my phone. No theatrics, no setup, just tapped the screen and turned it toward her. A message thread from R. Top 1. That dress was dangerous. You wore it for me, right? Another from 2 weeks ago. Can't stop thinking about that night. My bed misses you. A third, time-stamped from a Tuesday, she'd told me she was working late. Next weekend. Just us, like Cabo. Her eyes scanned the screen. She didn't blink, didn't gasp, just stiffened. Then her jaw set. You're bluffing. I tilted my head. You think I'm showing you everything? She didn't answer. I haven't even started, I said, locking the phone again. She folded her arms tighter. This is you digging through my stuff, violating my privacy? You think that makes you look strong? I smirked. No, I think it makes me look awake. She opened her mouth, ready to spit some half-coherent justification, but I cut her off with one sentence. Check your card statements tomorrow. That stopped her. Her mask faltered for the second time that night. And that's the part I'd been waiting for. Not the rage, not the defiance, the hesitation, the doubt. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me, like the man who paid the bills, kept the house steady, and stood quietly in her Instagram post had been replaced by someone competent. Good night, Dana, I said. I walked past her, brushed her shoulder like it wasn't even there. In the morning, I heard the sound before I saw her, the staccato clack of her nails against her phone screen, then the pause, then the scramble of footsteps into the kitchen. What the hell did you do? She asked, waving her phone like a torch. Oh, you got it? I asked, still buttering my toast. My cards aren't working. The Ben's lease portal says I don't have access. My goddamn gym app says I need to update my payment method. I nodded. Weird how it all hit at once. Her voice cracked. You can't do that. I looked up. Calm. I did. She went pale, really pale, like the kind of white you get when the air leaves your lungs and doesn't come back. You said you didn't want a war, she whispered. I don't, I said, but I do want truth, and I want you out of my books. Consider it a separation of powers. Her arms dropped, phone still in hand, screen still glowing with red notifications. Payment failed, access denied, card declined. But what am I supposed to? She stopped herself. That was the best part. She caught it. Caught that reflexive "you were supposed to fund me" while I lied to you tone that had always been there but never spoken out loud. I stood, finished my coffee, took my keys. I'll be back late, don't wait up. She didn't respond. And for the first time since we got married, I heard nothing behind me when I left. No slam, no scream, no stomp, just silence. The kind that signals someone realizing the floor beneath them wasn't made of stone. It was glass. And I had just walked off before it cracked. By midday, she had gone from shocked to frantic. I watched it unfold in real time. The pacing, the scattered phone calls, the increasingly shrill voice echoing down the hallway. She was in full panic mode now. She'd stopped pretending it wasn't happening. Whatever resolve she had left was unraveling faster than her curated image of control. I heard her on the phone, voice sharp and desperate. "Pick up, Ryan, what the hell, pick up." She tried again, and again. I could hear the silence through the walls. By the fourth try, her tone changed. That edge of command she usually wore like perfume was gone, replaced by something cracked and unfamiliar. "Please, just call me." She waited in the hallway, clutching her phone like a defibrillator, but the screen stayed dark. No reply, no read receipts, nothing. She stood there for a beat longer, then hurled the phone onto the couch and stormed into the bedroom like it owed her an explanation. I was already there, packing a small bag, not dramatically, not symbolically, just clinically. A change of clothes, laptop, charger, the bare essentials. She stopped in the doorway, eyes wild. "You ruined everything." I didn't look up. "I funded everything." Her mouth opened, closed. The realization hit, but she still tried to spin it. "I was lonely," she said, stepping forward. "You were distant. Ryan made me feel alive, seen. He was exciting." I zipped the bag and looked at her. "You were an investment," I said, "one I'm no longer interested in." She flinched, like I'd slapped her with a spreadsheet. "You can't just walk away." I stood, slinging the bag over my shoulder. "You say that like I haven't already." She stepped closer, voice breaking. We were us. We had something. You loved me." "I did," I said, "and you sold it for Cabo and compliments." Her face twisted, not in regret, in disbelief that she wasn't winning. "Ryan will come around," she said, like a threat dressed as hope. I raised an eyebrow. "You sure? Because it looks like he's gone dark the moment you stopped being funded." She didn't respond. I walked past her. She didn't try to stop me. I paused at the doorway, not to deliver some grand finale, just to leave her with the quiet math of it all. "You bet against the man who built your lifestyle," I said. "And you backed a ghost." She stood there, mascara smudged, barefoot in yesterday's silk. I didn't wait for the next plea, the next sob, the next manipulation dressed as vulnerability. Because it wouldn't matter. The reckoning wasn't just that I caught her, it was that I no longer cared. 2 weeks. That's how long it took for the dust to settle. For Donna's world to stop spinning long enough to realize it wasn't a storm, it was an eviction, not just from the house or the credit line or the fantasy she curated on social media, from me, from access, from orbit. I didn't block her, I didn't post anything, I didn't air out the receipts or drop some performative breakup playlist on my story. I just vanished from her feed like a shadow during daylight, because men like me don't need exits with fireworks. We leave like tide, quiet, absolute, and unmistakable. The investor dinner was invitation only, same rooftop, same lights, but different now. My initials were etched onto the building's new nameplate, freshly unveiled beneath a silk cloth and a quiet round of applause. No stage, no microphone, just a few powerful people in tailored suits sipping whiskey, while the city buzzed far below. The place looked cleaner now, not just physically, energetically. The fake glitz Dana used to cling to was gone. In its place, precision, ownership. Stacy showed up late, not with her husband this time, just herself. A dark dress, hair pinned up, that tight expression people wear when they've seen too much but still aren't sure what side they're on. She found me by the bar, where I was nursing a single pour of Ardbeg and letting the skyline do most of the talking. She didn't know, did she? Stacy asked quietly. I turned, met her eyes. No. She thought she had you fooled. I nodded. She was right. For a while. Stacy looked down at her glass, then back up. She's not doing well. Keeps spinning the story. Can't decide if you're a monster or a martyr. That tracks, I said, sipping. She never did like binary thinking. She studied me for a moment. You never shouted, never exposed her. Would have made her the main character again, I said. She gave a slight, almost reluctant smile. She doesn't even know the half of it, does she? No, I said, but she knows enough to feel it. Behind us, people clinked glasses, laughed, talked business. Nobody asked about Dana. Nobody mentioned her name. She wasn't part of the story anymore. Not this one. I stepped away from Stacy and leaned against the balcony railing, letting the wind press against my shirt. The city stretched out below like a circuit board, blinking with silent decisions. Quiet moves. Unseen power. There had been no public fallout. No screaming match. No dramatic exit scene with her sobbing in the rain. She just disappeared. Credit gone. Access denied. House put up for sale. Benz returned. That trip to Cabo? Canceled. Ryan had gone off the grid too. Guess he wasn't in it for love after all. The last time I heard from her was a voice message, broken, hesitant. You didn't even yell. You didn't even fight me. She was right. I hadn't, because I'd already won. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her to hurt. I needed her to know that I was never the fool. And I had built every single wall she thought she was climbing over. Not for her, for myself. The rooftop glowed behind me. Warm. Controlled. My space now. No borrowed tables. No pretending. Just silence and control.